The pension your grandfather retired on, that guaranteed check that landed every month until the day he died, is almost gone. If you're a blue-collar worker pulling wire, welding steel, running a forklift, turning wrenches, or driving a truck for a living, the odds one of those is waiting for you at the end are slim to none. So let's get to the question. How does a blue-collar worker, a tradesman, actually retire without a pension? The system handed the whole job of funding your retirement over to you about 45 years ago, and nobody sent a memo. Retiring without a pension can be done, but nobody's coming to set it up for you. One thing before we go further. I'm not a financial advisor, a tax professional, or a licensed anything. Nothing here is professional advice. It's information and one working man's perspective. For your own situation, talk to a real professional you can hold accountable. Go back about 45 years. In 1980, roughly 38% of private sector workers had a real pension, the guaranteed monthly check for life. By 2008, that was down to 20%. By 2023, only about 15% of private workers even had access to one. What replaced it? The 401k. Congress created it in 1978, and it was never meant to be the main event. It was a side dish, a little bonus sitting on top of your real pension. Then it ate the whole meal. The difference between those two things is the whole ball game, so let me make it plain. With the old pension, your employer carried the risk. They promised you a number, and they were on the hook to pay it, mark it up or mark it down. With the new kind of account, that risk moved off their books and onto yours. You pick the investments. You ride the market up and you ride it back down. Miss a few years of contributions because life got expensive, and that's your problem now. Figuring out how to make that pile last the rest of your life is one of the hardest problems in finance. That's what they handed to a guy who just worked 10 back-breaking hours. And it gets worse the less you make, which is a hell of a thing to admit out loud. Federal labor data breaks down who actually has access to these plans by income. For the highest earners, a guaranteed pension is still somewhat in reach, around 29% of them. For the lowest paid, it's 2%. Add it all up, and about 40 million full-time workers in this country have no retirement plan through their job at all. No pension, no retirement account, nothing. Count the part-timers, and it climbs past 53 million. A lot of that comes down to the size of the shop. Work for a company with 500 or more people, and about 90% of those jobs come with a retirement plan. Drop to a small outfit under 50 employees, and it falls to barely half. Think about who that is. The independent electrician, the two-truck plumbing company, the welder doing contract work, the four-man framing crew. The trades run on small business, and small business is where retirement plans go to die. So what does that look like in real dollars? The numbers online are all over the place, and most people quote them wrong, so here's the honest version. Count every working American between 21 and 64, including everyone who saved nothing, and the middle of the pack has about $955 set aside. Not a typo, under $1,000. It sits that low because tens of millions of people have a goose egg dragging the whole thing down. Look only at people who actually have a retirement account, and the middle climbs to about 40,000. Narrow it again to households near retirement age who manage to save, and it lands closer to 185,000. So which is it, $1,000 or 185,000? All of them, depending on who you're standing next to. The pattern underneath stays the same. The ones who end up okay had an account and fed it. The ones who end up with nothing never started. Now the part the office crowd never deals with. When somebody says your savings are thin, the advice is always the same. Just work longer. Retire at 67 instead of 62. For a guy at a desk, fine. For somebody who earns a living with his body, the research says something different. A big share of people in physical jobs can't make it to the finish line on schedule. Among workers 58 and older, more than a third are in physically demanding jobs and counting rough conditions. It's closer to 44%. Most people who retire before 65 didn't choose it. They got pushed out by their health, by a body that quit, by a layoff, by a company that closed or got sold. It's a nasty trap. The same workers who most need to keep going to afford retirement are stuck in the jobs that wreck the body and force them out early. Your knees, your back, your shoulders, your hearing. None of them care about your retirement math. The welder with the shot lungs, the framer whose hips are done, the warehouse picker who can't lift like he used to. A plan that says work till 67 assumes a body that lasts till 67, and a lot of ours don't. That's the hole. Here's how people climb out of it, and I'm keeping it general, because what works depends on your situation. If you're self-employed, your own boss, there are a couple of accounts built for exactly that, and most people have never heard of them. One's called a SEP IRA, or a simplified employee pension plan. The other's a solo 401k. Both let a self-employed person stash away a serious amount in a single year, way more than a regular account allows. Up into the $70,000 range, depending on what you make and which one you use. You are not locked into making contributions every year. You have the flexibility to skip contributions during years when cash flow is tight, and investments are not taxable until they're withdrawn. And here's something worth knowing if you're in a lower tax bracket right now or expect your income to climb later. Both the SEP and the solo 401k have Roth versions, or Roth-compatible strategies, meaning you pay the tax up front and pull the money out tax-free in retirement. A fee-only advisor can tell you which way makes more sense for your specific situation. If you've got a small shop with a handful of employees and you want to offer something without the paperwork headache of a full 401k, there's also something called a simple IRA. It stands for Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employees. Lower contribution limits than the SEP or solo plan, but it's built for exactly that scenario, the small trade outfit that wants to do right by their guys without drowning in compliance work. Plenty of guys running their own crew have no idea these exist. I'm not telling you to go open one. I'm telling you the door's there and most people walk right past it because nobody ever pointed at it. For everybody else, there's the plain IRA. Anybody with earned income can open one, no employer needed. The yearly limit's smaller, around $7,000, but it's the usual starting point when your job hands you nothing. And just like the workplace accounts, you've got a choice. The traditional IRA, where you get the tax break now, or the Roth IRA, where you pay the tax now, and the money grows and comes out tax-free later. If you're over 50, there's also what's called a catch-up contribution that lets you put in an extra $1,000 a year on top of the regular limit. It's the government's way of saying, better late than never. If you're in your 50s and just starting to get serious about this, that extra room matters. Then there's the one corner of the trades that still has real pensions. The union shops, construction and trucking especially, still run multi-employer pensions, where a bunch of companies pay into one pot for the workers. It's the last real piece of the private sector where the old monthly check still shows up. Even that's not bulletproof. A few years back, a chunk of those union funds got into real trouble, the kind where they were on track to run dry inside 20 years. Nearly 11 million workers and retirees were tied to the system, and well over 1 million were in plans quietly going broke. The federal government stepped in through the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, the PBGC, which is the federal agency that insures private pensions when the plan behind them fails. They move to keep the checks moving. I'm not here to argue the politics of it. The point is that even a pension didn't guarantee the thing would be there. That's how shaky this got. One more account worth knowing about, especially for blue-collar workers dealing with body wear down as the years pile up. The Health Savings Account, or HSA. It's technically a healthcare account, but a lot of people in the retirement planning world call it a stealth retirement account. If you've got a high deductible health plan, you can put pre-tax money into an HSA, let it grow, and use it tax-free for medical expenses in retirement. And once you hit 65, you can pull it for anything, just like a regular retirement account. For a tradesman whose body has been taking a beating, healthcare costs in retirement are a real number, and HSA helps offset that. What about Social Security? For most working people, that's the floor, and it's a low one. The average retirement benefit recently came out to about $1,960 a month. For a lot of folks, that's rent and groceries and not much else. Even if you own a home by that age, and that's a really big if nowadays, it's still like a night in Thailand. Slim pickings. If you know, you know. Around 65% of workers already expect to keep working past retirement age just to get by. Social Security was never built to be your whole retirement, just a piece of it. The rest was supposed to come from the pension you don't have. I keep saying talk to a professional. Let me tell you what that actually looks like, because go see a financial advisor is worthless advice if you've never done it and have no clue what it costs or how it works. The first fear is getting fleeced. You picture some guy in a suit who talks down to you and quietly skims your money while you're out on the job. So look for this. There's a kind of advisor called FEE only. It means the only money they make comes straight from you. No commissions, no kickback for shoving you into some garbage product you never needed. On top of that, you want one who's a fiduciary, which is a fancy word for somebody legally required to put your interests ahead of their own wallet. They can't push you into some multi-level marketing scheme or some other kind of bullshit they'll profit from on the back end. Fee only and fiduciary, those are the two words that matter, and there are free directories online that list nothing but these people. I'll drop a couple in the description. Now the cost, since that's what everybody really wants to know. If you just want to sit down once and get pointed in the right direction, plenty of them charge by the hour, somewhere around $200 to $400. Want the whole picture written up, your debt, your accounts, your retirement, all of it? A one-time plan like that usually runs around $3,000, give or take. I know that is a ton of money for many of us, and I completely understand. I put out $250 for my first financial advisor consultation. It was scary as hell, and I didn't know if it was worth it. My personal experience is that it was, and now that advisor helps me yearly to invest in drip stocks and other assets, which has grown my retirement account by 12% in the last 6 months. And if you want somebody managing your money year after year, the common deal is about 1% a year of whatever they're handling. There are also automated services, robo-advisors, that run more like 1/4 to 0.5% and skip the human entirely. A lot of these folks work hourly with no minimum, so you don't need a pile of money to get in the door. That myth alone keeps half the working world out of the room. So what does the money actually buy? A good one looks at everything we just covered and tells you which of those accounts fits your life. The SEP, the solo plan, the simple IRA, the Roth IRA, or the plain old IRA. They build you a real plan instead of a guess. They find tax moves you didn't know were sitting there. They make sure you understand things like required minimum distributions that kick in later and force you to start pulling money out whether you want to or not, so that doesn't sneak up on you. And maybe the most underrated part, they talk you off the ledge when the market drops and every instinct you've got is screaming to sell everything at the worst possible time. Some research says a good one earns back more than they charge over the long haul. That's not a promise, just what the numbers tend to show. And getting started is quicker than people think. Opening the account online takes about 10 or 15 minutes. Moving money over from your bank takes 1 to 3 business days. From doing absolutely nothing to actually invested, you're looking at less than a week. The holdup was never the paperwork. It was not knowing where to start. Let me bring it back around, straight, like I said I would. Money's complicated, and anybody promising one simple trick for a comfortable retirement is selling something. Nothing here is a guarantee, yours or anyone else's, which is exactly why a real professional is worth the conversation. The big picture isn't complicated, though. The guaranteed pension that gave the last generation a decent old age has mostly vanished from the trades. The job of paying for your retirement got handed to you decades ago, written in a language nobody bothered to translate. The ones who come out all right tend to start early and start small, even when small is all they've got. The ones who don't lean on a Social Security check that barely covers the basics, working a body that's been asking them to stop for years. Nobody's coming to fix this for you. That's the bad news and the good news in one breath. Bad because it's on you. Good because on you means in your hands. The first move isn't even about money. It's knowing the game changed and knowing which tools already have your name on them. The Roth IRA, the SEP, the solo plan, the catch-up contribution if you're over 50, the HSA if your body's the variable. Most people never get that far. You just did.